Now that the inlet has cooled and depressurized, I'll show you how to replace the inlet septum, liner, and O-ring. Some companies replace these on a daily or weekly basis depending on the number of samples they run. You'll need the wrench that came with your GC, tweezers, and the replacement consumables. During the procedure, avoid handling the clean consumables with your bare hands. Oil from your skin can cause extra peaks on your chromatogram. You'll need gloves to do this. Make sure they're lint-free and powder-free. Okay, here we go. Loosen the septum retainer nut. Use your tweezers to remove the septum from the retainer nut. Remember now, do not gouge or scratch the interior of the septum head. Firmly place the new septum into the fitting. Install the septum retainer nut finger tight. Tighten the septum nut until the C-ring is about 1 millimeter above the nut. Over-tightening the septum nut can cause contamination from the syringe, coring of the septum, and depositing pieces into the inlet. Next, we'll replace the liner and the O-ring. Slide your locking tab forward. Lift the septum retaining assembly straight up and away from the inlet to avoid chipping or breaking the liner. Loosen your O-ring from the seal of the surface with your tweezers. Grasp the liner with tweezers and pull it out. Inspect the surface of the gold seal for graphite or rubber septum contamination. If required, replace the gold seal. Clean the inlet if there's visible or suspected contamination. Clean the O-ring residue from the seal surface. Slide a new O-ring onto the replacement liner. Return the liner into the inlet, pushing it all the way until the liner contacts the gold seal. Line up the tab on the bottom of the septum assembly with the slots on the insert assembly and push down to connect. Slide the locking tab to the back. Turn on the inlet. Allow the inlet and the column to purge with carrier gas for 15 minutes before heating the inlet or the column. Restore the analytical method. If you keep track of this maintenance, record it in a logbook or Lab Advisor software. Some of our GCs include counters that you can reset. For most applications with clean volatile samples, we suggest that you replace the gold seal monthly. Companies that are analyzing dirty samples or have high sample throughput may need to replace this part more often. Many companies schedule the replacement of the gold seal at the same time they replace the liner. One approach would be to replace the gold seal during every fourth liner change. Before you start replacing the gold seal, load your maintenance method to cool the inlet and oven and depressurize the inlet. For parts, you'll need the seal replacement kit, the one with the stainless steel washer. For tools, you'll need 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch open-end wrench. During the procedure, avoid handling the seals with your bare hands. Remember, oil from your skin can cause extra peaks on your chromatogram. The gold seal is at the bottom of the inlet where the column is connected. To get to the gold seal, we must first remove the liner and then the column. First, remove the liner. Then, using the 1/4 inch open-end wrench, remove the column from the inlet. Cap the opened end to prevent air or contamination from entering the column. Also, remove the insulation cup around the base of the inlet. Loosen and remove the reducing nut. Remove the washer and the seal inside the reducing nut. Put a new washer in the reducing nut and place the gold seal on top of it with the flat surface facing up. Replace the reducing nut and tighten securely with a wrench. Your gold seal has now been replaced. Install the insulation cup and the column. Then, replace the inlet liner. From there, turn on the inlet. Allow the inlet and the column to purge with carrier gas for 15 minutes before heating the inlet or the column. Restore the analytical method. If you keep track of this maintenance, record it in your logbook or Lab Advisor software. Some of our GCs include counters that you also can reset.
A good way to determine if your contamination is in the inlet or gas lines is to do a condensation test too.
Yes, to do a condensation test, we simply run a blank run after a long period of non-use, such as overnight or over the weekend. The GC should be at the starting temperature during this time. This allows for any of the contamination that's in the lines or in the inlet to collect on the head of the column. We start the condensation test simply by starting the GC without injecting. If we see ghost peaks, we need to do a second run with the temperature ramp. If the contamination peaks of the first run are larger than the contamination peaks of the second run, the problem is in the inlet or the gas lines.
This is because the longer the oven is at the low temperature, the more the contamination collects on the column. If you don't see the ghost peaks, chances are you have another type of contamination or carryover, such as in the syringe or in the sample or something like that. If you do have contamination in the line, how did it get there? This indicates backflash or injection overload. If you have this problem and you don't address it, it's just going to get worse every time you make an injection. You'll be depositing more and more stuff into those lines, parts, fittings, and it'll get worse over time.